My name is Barbara Evaeus, and I'm the Manager of Climate Communications at WWF. Very appreciative for this opportunity to take part in the Stockholm Clean Tech Venture Day in cooperation with the organizers. I'll be speaking, well, for the next 15 minutes, and then we'll present a number of exciting new companies called Climate Solvers, WWF Climate Solvers 2009. This sounds like it's echoing. Do you hear me okay? Yeah? Okay. So the agenda for this presentation will be that I'll explain to you why WWF is here as a nature conservation organization, exactly why the issue of climate and energy is relevant for the audience here, and then why WWF is working with an innovations program, an initiative, and finally, as I said, the presentation of our selected companies for Climate Solver 2009. The question about why WWF is here in a clean tech environment is because we have recognized the need for transformative technologies which can help to reduce carbon emissions, and in that way help us reach our goal of maintaining a 2-degree, maximum 2-degree increase in average global temperatures. So there you have my 2-minute pitch. Now I'll just walk right on over to our presentation of WWF. WWF is the leading global nature conservation organization. We have over 50 years experience and are in 100 different countries with over 2,000 conservation projects. We also have approximately 5,000 employees worldwide. So most people know us because of that panda, very sought after panda. But we also actually, besides having worked with species and then place-based projects, have now entered in the climate change debate in full force for the past years. WWF has worked often and has a reputation of being very pragmatic and solutions-oriented, where we partner with different stakeholders, so they can be from either the private sector, big business, politicians, other NGOs. The goal is always to be very operative and solutions-oriented. So although our work is based on a solid research foundation, the key word there again is solutions orientation. Two of our meta goals are that we want to make sure that the planet's biodiversity is protected and that our ecological footprint is reduced. Because as you see on these charts, things aren't looking too great right now. If you look at the historically from the 1970s, you can't see when I point at my screen, can you? From 1970 to current 2005, it says there, the trends aren't looking very good for biodiversity. More and more species are becoming extinct every year. And when it comes to our impact on the planet, so how much of the natural resources we use due to our lifestyle, that's not looking very positive either. It's going up and up and up. So for each person who is allocated a certain area of space on the planet to provide for me and my needs, basic needs, as it looks right now, I would need more than one planet. And if everyone in this world were to live the way I did, things wouldn't be so great. So this is the kind of background to why WWF works with these issues. When it comes to ecological footprint particularly, 60% of our footprint is actually connected to carbon dioxide emissions or greenhouse gas emissions. I'm showing you this ecological footprint graph because, as you can see here all the way to the left, this shows, the dotted line shows the biocapacity of the region, and the bar actually shows how much of the natural resources people from this region are taking into account. And North America is the orange, Europe is the violet colored. So we are living way beyond our means. Not really sustainable. As I mentioned, WWF works with climate change, and In Sweden, we have a very large focus specifically on innovations and an innovation initiative, which is why we're here today. We also work in a number of different areas, including the Arctic and others that I'll talk about in just a minute. Why we do what we do is what you'll see here in the following graphs. This chart shows basically by sector where our emissions come from. And it's very clear here that when it comes to energy, about 3/4 of the Earth's emissions are due to different types of energy production. So it's electricity and heat, industry, transportation, etc., etc. There are other reasons like land use change, where we cut down forests, which also disturb the balance and emit more emissions. That are a bit of a or not a bit of a problem, a huge problem. As a matter of fact, when it comes to deforestation, it's a huge problem, almost 20% of the emissions. So this is why Climate Solver and our climate innovations project and initiative has focused on sustainable energy solutions, whether it's energy efficiency or renewable energy solutions. Here is a look at what our future might look like. The primary energy is the red graph, and then the other bar to the side is where we are based on development goals and income. So if you think that in the future we were to live up to the Millennium Development Goals and that we were to raise people, the poorest, out of poverty and eradicate poverty, eventually increase wealth and improve lifestyles around the globe, energy uses would also increase. We know that we're moving towards a world where we're expecting the world population, or it's projected to be 9 billion people by 2050. Well, that means more energy. If we're really successful about eradicating poverty and moving people out of that realm, the need for energy increases dramatically. And then if we really are successful and actually live up to the prosperous world and the goals that we have there, the amount of primary energy just goes right off the chart. So we need to do something about that, and WWF again has recognized the need for more sustainable energy solutions. We have a global network and work in a variety of fields, as I mentioned earlier. We have the Arctic, where we have a program that looks at the current situation in the Arctic, so what's happening to the ice sheets and the glaciers, but also recently released a report called the Arctic Feedback Report, which was a nightmare reading because it also shows the opposite, not just what's happening in the Arctic, but what it means for the rest of the globe when the Arctic goes, and what it means for sea level increases and changes of temperatures and Gulf streams. So we work together, for example, here in Sweden with Malmö, the city of Malmö, on a sustainable city project. We have similar projects in China with Shanghai, Baoding, to see how we can form the growth in future cities. As it was mentioned this morning from the State Secretary, we've passed the line where now more and more people are actually living in urban areas as opposed to rural areas, and that makes it even more vital for us to make sure that the growth is sustainable within those urban areas. We work, as I said, with forest carbon, so looking at deforestation issues, reforestation, afforestation, and preserving our forests as they are, also as an important means of controlling carbon emissions. Internationally, we have a team of experts working on something we call the Global Climate Deal, where they attend the UN's meetings now, the intersessionals, and will again gather in Copenhagen at the end of the year to be sure to ensure that there's a global climate deal, which will be very interesting for you, and I'll talk about that in a little while as well, and what will it mean for the investment community and the clean tech community generally. Earth Hour was an initiative by WWF that started in Australia a few years ago and now went global the last 2 years. In Sweden alone, 4.8 million people shut off their lights as a signal to decision makers and policy makers to say that we wanted to see action on climate change and a global deal in Copenhagen.